Hey guys, welcome back to Bombchu. I'm Austin, and today I'll be covering the monthly bundle from February 2018. This month's bundle is back to the standard formula of 8 games, 7 of them for Steam, and 1 Humble Original. We have a lot to cover, so let's get to it. I'll be giving my first impressions of each game and determining if they're games I'd like to continue playing. This month's Humble Original is Fortune 499. You're an oracle for a corporation that deals with computers and magic. Monsters attack, and you have to get rid of them by playing games of rock, paper, scissors. However, since you're an oracle, you can draw cards each turn to get a good idea of what your opponent's going to play. You won't pick correctly every time, but you'll win more rounds than you'll lose or tie. Battles start off pretty easy, but considering the game is designed around you being able to predict the future, your enemies start to do their own devious moves. Pretty early on, I fought a boss who got stronger and made me weaker the more I drew cards, so I had to draw less to keep doing any damage. Some enemies will negate the cards that you draw, which brings in a cheating mechanic where you can hide a card up your sleeve that you've already played, and play it again whenever you like. You can even do it multiple times in a row. Games that actively encourage you to cheat and are designed around that idea are really interesting, and this one is no exception. And damn, it's got some great music. I'll have to play more of this sometime soon. Our first Steam game is the Norwood Suite, a weird first-person adventure game. You arrive at the Hotel Norwood. I'm not sure what you're doing there, or what your end goal is in the game, but all the guests need favors from you. Some people need things you can find lying around, and other people need things that you can only get as rewards from helping specific guests. As you go along, you start to discover secrets and gaining access to more areas. Like I said, I'm not sure what the end goal is here, but the game is weird, and in a way that I really like. Everything is stylized in a way that reminds me of jazz punk. People's voices are random notes of music. Each room is filled with strange objects and people, and everything just leaves me wanting to explore more. It's not difficult, but more of an experience while still being a lot more interactive than a walking simulator. I had to tear myself away from the game to get to the rest of the games in this review, but this is definitely one I plan to finish soon. Our next game is Life is Strange, an episodic adventure game with time travel. The game starts out in the middle of a nasty storm. Oh, I get it, that's why the prequel is called Before the Storm. You suddenly wake up in a class and can glean some information about the main character's life by examining items in your vicinity. To progress, you have to take a selfie. Barf. Is this good enough for you? Is it? After going through some high school dread, you head off to the bathroom where you experience an event. I won't say what happens to avoid spoiling any story elements, but a thing happens and you discover the twist to this game. You can control time. You rewind back to where you started and see how you can do things differently in an attempt to prevent that bathroom event from happening. Things started off slow, but this turn really caught my interest. If you like narrative games, this is certainly one to check out. I'll be continuing. Next up is Tacoma, a walking sim from the developers of Gone Home, but this time, in space! Rather than walking around a house figuring out where your family is, you're exploring a space station trying to figure out what happened to the crew. There's an AI on board, and your official mission has you locked out from interacting with it. With your handy Nintendo DS, you find terminals to upload data to the company you work for, and to pass the time during each upload, you explore the surrounding rooms. Each area you walk into is littered with objects and writing that you can look at, but the main storytelling is done through recorded hologram events. These are usually a few minutes long and take place in a wide area with multiple groups of people, often behind closed doors, so you can watch and listen to one group, and when someone else walks in, you can rewind and follow them back to where they came from to see what was happening with them. There are also pieces of information you can retrieve during these scenes whenever a character brings up their computer interface. So far, I can't lie, it's been pretty slow, but Gone Home got off to a similar start, and I was really glad I played that one by the end of it. It's a short game, running in at about 4 hours, so I'll be continuing on to see if it gets more interesting. But if you hated Gone Home, you're probably not going to have a good time here. Game 5 is Owlboy, a 9-year-long passion project in tribute to pixel art. Yes, development started on this game in 2007, and it wasn't released until a little over a year ago. So how did it turn out? Well, visually, this game has me gushing. Every sprite, every background, every little animated detail just fills me with joy. I adore pixel art in general, but the really detailed stuff like what you see here is just As for the gameplay, well, let's just say most of that development time probably went into the visuals. It's not that Owlboy is a bad game. It's not bad by any means. The closest comparison I would make would be Cuphead, another indie game that had a notoriously long development time and was celebrated for its visuals. In the case of Cuphead, what we got was a deeply engaging game that, combined with its art, easily made it a contender for several awards and got everyone on YouTube talking about it. Looking at Owlboy, the gameplay is fairly simple, with easy-to-solve puzzles and pretty chill combat. And maybe that's exactly the vibe the developers were going for. It just keeps it from being a truly standout game. If you like 2D action-adventure games, or pixel art at all, you should definitely give it a try. If you aren't into either, maybe steer clear. I'll certainly be finishing it. This leads us to Sid Meier's Civilization 6, because if you don't say Sid Meier's before it, he comes to your house at night to civilize you. Most of my experience with this series is with Civ 4, Sid Meier's Civilization 4. And it's been a while, so if you're a series veteran, forgive me. In this game, you pick an ancient civilization, see, I don't have to say Sid Meier there because it's lowercase, and attempt to survive and thrive into the modern age and a bit beyond. You can explore your surroundings, build up your population, research science and technology, and build and expand your nation. One of the great things about Sid Meier's Civilization is that if you aren't aiming for the most efficient strategy, there's really no wrong way to play. As you move out or don't, you'll find or be found by other nations. Some are friendly, some are not. But either way, relations rarely stay the same throughout an entire playthrough. I personally like to focus on innovation and economy, going as pure pacifist as I can. What almost always happens is that each nation I encounter starts off as my ally. Over time, my allied nations start to fight each other and demand that I take their side. So I end up having to toe a very thin line if I want to avoid fighting anyone. Nations that are aggressive toward me, my allied nations handle and I gift them with new technologies. The gameplay goes deeper than this, but I think my favorite thing about this new Civilization game is the interface. The next turn button is replaced with any unit or city that's awaiting orders whenever you need to provide input, making it really easy to figure out what needs your attention without having to scrutinize everything. This game won't be for everyone, but if you give it a try, you just might see why so many people just keep saying, "One more turn. One more turn." You didn't say my name. You didn't say my name. Say my name.
Sid Meier?
You're goddamn right. Next is Black, The Fall, a side-scrolling physics puzzle game. Immediately, this game reminded me a ton of Inside, which left me thinking I would enjoy myself. If you saw me talk about Inside, you might remember that while I'm very fond of it, I don't have much love for its predecessor, Limbo. Limbo was lacking polish in many spots, and Inside was immensely polished. Puzzles made sense, and when it took some real thinking, it was satisfying to complete. Dying was never a major setback, and when I died, it was pretty clear what I did wrong. Unfortunately, while Black, The Fall is similar to Inside in atmosphere and style, it lacks the major polish. Death is annoying and often feels cheap. Sometimes I would get well past a guard and stop sneaking because it's very slow, and the guard would instantly signal a machine to kill me. Some puzzles were just stupid. Like here, I'm trying to get past this poison, and I have a device that lets me signal workers to do things. If I signal the worker to interact with a switch, the sentry detects me for some reason. If I signal the sentry, it looks at the area above me, and then it kills me. No, what you have to do is get the worker to move forward so they get detected by the sentry, which makes them feel bad until they go operate the switch. Yeah, okay. I really expected to like this one, but Inside pulled it off so much better more than a year before this came out, it's hard to get excited for this one. Our final game is Snake Pass, a 3D collectathon where you play as a snake. If you caught my top 3 games of 2017 video, this was one of them. I absolutely love it. I'm all about 3D collectathons, especially with cartoony animal duos. And David Wise, famous for his work on Donkey Kong Country, provided the soundtrack. But enough gushing, let's get to the gameplay. You control a snake, and unlike most games in this genre, you are unable to jump. You can only slither and coil yourself around things. If you travel in a straight line, you slow down a ton, so you have to slither side to side to move with any real speed. You can climb by wrapping yourself around support objects, and there's a dedicated button to tighten your grip. You also have a bird companion who can pick up your tail if you need to get rid of some weight for a moment. Beating a level is pretty easy, you just have to get these colored gems, and these aren't hard to find or grab. Completing a level is another story. Each level has 5 coins and 20 wisps, all of which are entirely optional. Some of these will be easy to get, others will be well hidden and hanging in precarious places. These are what will really test your skill at the game and push you to get better. I refuse to finish a level until I have everything. If you give this a try and get frustrated, keep at it for a bit. You will get better. So overall, how was this bundle? Man, this was another knockout bundle. No questionable picks, and a lot of highly rated games. Most months don't really have a theme, but this month seemed to focus a lot on narrative games and platformers. Great picks for me. Though if you aren't into those genres, you may be disappointed in the lack of variety. So how much bang for your buck was there? To total everything up, getting all these at full price would cost a sizable $180. Getting all these at their lowest sale price would rack up a cost of just over $91. Pretty excellent value either way. This was another awesome bundle. Humble is 2 for 2 with me so far this year, and I really hope they can keep it up. Next month's bundle has Dark Souls 3 and one of its DLC expansions as early unlocks. Speaking of which, this month I'm trying something new and taking a look at next month's early unlock now. This section will appear again in the March bundle review since Dark Souls 3 is part of that bundle, but this is just a way for you to get a look ahead of time. Dark Souls 3 is the final game in the Dark Souls series. If you aren't familiar with the series, it's a dark action RPG filled with traps and enemies that can very quickly kill you if you aren't constantly on your toes. You don't need to have played the other games in the series to enjoy this one, and in fact, I'd say this is the best entry point to the series. Dark Souls 1 has great lore and an intricately connected world, but until we see what gets updated in the upcoming remaster, a lot of it hasn't aged well, both visually and mechanically. Dark Souls 2 made some improvements, but overall, it was a weaker game than the first. Dark Souls 3 is an excellent return to form, with really strong visuals and combat, and some wonderful environment and enemy designs. If you're having trouble, you can once again summon other players to help you, or allow yourself to be summoned so you can earn some souls and embers without the risk. Multiplayer is now easier than ever, as From Software added a password system so you can match up with just your friends if you want to. And if you're outside each other's level range, the game will just scale down the more powerful player. And of course, it wouldn't be Dark Souls without invaders, players who enter your world every now and then with the goal of killing you. Covenants are really interesting this time around, with several that I found myself wanting to be a part of. The only thing that had me kind of miffed was that Bandai Namco opted not to include the other DLC expansion. The game and Season Pass together have been on sale in the past for under $30, and we've had more expensive games than that headline pass bundles, but I guess Dark Souls 3 was only included in the first place to encourage people to buy the DLC. Regardless, this is an excellent game, and if you don't mind some difficulty in your games, give it a go. Okay, if you're still watching, thank you so much for making it this far. You are truly awesome. I have one more experiment to tack on here, and if you guys think it's stupid, just let me know and I'll knock it off. I just wanted to give you guys a look at what I've been doing this past month, just to give you a look into my life. Well, for starters, I bought and tried some gnarly hot sauce. If you watch the hot ones on YouTube, you've probably seen it before. It's over 2 million Scovilles, meaning it's stupidly hot. I also went to PAX South this month. If you were there and saw someone wearing a Bombchu t-shirt, that was almost certainly me. You may not know this about me, but I collect video game soundtracks on vinyl. I got some great ones this month, including Hyper Light Drifter as a gift from Andron, and the Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 soundtracks. And currently I'm playing the PC port of Final Fantasy XII. It's got triple monitor support. Unfortunately, my monitors don't really match in size, and I couldn't get the colors anywhere close to each other, but I love it nonetheless. And those are the highlights this month. The next bundle launches March 2nd, so I'll see you guys sometime around then. Catch you next time.